Yo, 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 check, 1, 2, check, 1, 2. This is Roots to Grooves. Not live, but we are live on TikTok on our little phone over there. We're just testing this out.
Yes.
But this is Jay Purcell. I'm Jesse Quigley. That makes this Roots to Grooves.
Welcome, everybody.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. We're here to learn. We're here to laugh. And we're here to love.
Yes.
And we're talking about the Cinematic Orchestra tonight.
Out of the UK.
This was Jay's pick.
Yes. I've known about them for a very long time. And in thinking about artists to do for the show, I'm getting to this point where I'm sort of kind of like wanting to find out more about artists that I know about that you think you know about. I think I know about. I know musically, but I don't really know the history behind, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think I'm getting to that point now where I'm starting to just suggest artists where I'm just like, yeah, okay, I need to talk about this, Jesse, and see, where this goes and what we find out about the artist and their beginnings, their background, their approach to music and everything like that. So
yeah, the beginnings, but not their ends.
But no, exactly. Yeah. Well, we have yet to cover an artist that is not releasing music anymore. Maybe we'll get to that point at some point. But,
But yeah, not so far. But yeah, Cinematic Orchestra. I did not know anything about them. I might have heard the name. It sounded vaguely familiar.
You'll know one track when we get to an album later on. I think you'll recognize it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Remind me, play that one. We could probably maybe play that one for everybody.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, we're super stoked to be here.
Yeah.
Just awesome. Thanks for joining us because we're here to listen to some new music. For me, this is I got to explore this cool new band, this cool new musician group of musicians who I didn't know anything about it. But tell me, Jason Swinscoe.
Yeah.
Swinscoe. It sounded so familiar, and he looks so familiar. Where do I know this guy from?
I don't know. Probably from nowhere. Like, I mean,
it feels it's like a deja vu thing. I'm like, I feel like I've seen his face. I feel like I know his name, and I thought maybe we've talked about him before, but I couldn't put it together.
I've name dropped Cinematic Orchestra and his name before on a previous episode.
It must have been that.
I don't know which episode I name dropped that on.
It doesn't explain why I recognize his face, but
he looks like several people. I think he kind of looks like the guy from what's that band with the two people, like the female singer and the one guy on the guitar. It's like there's two of them.
Just two in the band?
Just two.
White Stripes?
No. Kind of close, but not. He's British. She's American. No. Nothing's coming to mind.
Nothing's coming.
I picture them in my mind, but I can't remember their name right now. This is terrible.
We've talked about them before?
No, but actually, now I'm thinking about it, we'll do a show about them. So.
Nice. That'll be next week.
Okay, let me just Google this real quick, because she, do you know Dead Weather with Jack White? One of Jack White's projects was called Dead Weather, which is really good. No. I don't know how you describe it, like soul-y rock, blues rock is what they say.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what Jack White's gotten into. And I said White Stripes, but Jack White is involved. In what we're
Dead Weather. So I'm getting that. Alison Mosshart is the American singer. She is in The Kills. I found it.
Okay.
The Kills. Do you know The Kills?
No.
Okay.
Okay. No.
Well, damn. Well, that will be another artist, will do.
Okay.
But
I have a lot to learn in this episode.
Viewers and listeners, if you know about The Kills, check them out. And the only reason I mention this is because I think the guy in The Kills looks a little bit like Jason Swinscoe.
Okay, so that rounds us out. That's why we're.
But you don't know The Kills, so you probably
So it doesn't matter to me.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't have the. But like I said, I'm here to learn, and it's always a great opportunity to learn more stuff and put all these connections together because all these musicians end up working with each other and in ways you wouldn't expect sometimes. So.
Exactly, yeah.
But we're talking about Cinematic Orchestra. So who are these guys? They're British. They're from the UK.
Yeah.
It's jazz.
Yeah.
Down tempo. I kind of want to throw some chill wave in there. They use some samples and some synthy stuff. Would you say?
On their latest stuff,
right?
But not in the earlier stuff.
Sure, I would agree, but generally not like hip hop sample-y kind of stuff.
No,
it's mostly real instrumentation, just real chill. Like kind of quiet vibes. Like that track you played, that reminded me of Take 5.
Oh yeah,
Dave Brubeck.
Yeah.
Probably because of the time signature, but also kind of the bass line and drums kind of sounded like a similar beat. Yeah. Which maybe that just happens if you're doing a 5/4 song.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a more upbeat from some of the other stuff they played, because I was like, okay, cool, let me play this new band that Jay showed me that I got to do research for this week.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, just real chill.
Yeah.
Real, I don't want to say low energy, but it's just like calm, chill, relaxed energy.
Yeah.
So they use a little bit of like electronic beats.
Yeah,
sometimes
they're very interesting because I think the name says it all, Cinematic Orchestra, because their music is very cinematic. So like, in listening to it, it is you are conjuring images in your own head. I mean, as we all do with all types of music, I think, but specifically with this group, that's what's happening here, and that was kind of by design, by Jason Swinscoe, who is basically the main producer behind Cinematic Orchestra.
Yeah, he's kind of the heart and soul,
it's basically
front man.
Project,
if anybody's the front man in this group.
Yeah, and he specifically mentioned that the sound of Cinematic Orchestra is a fusion between 60s jazz musicians like John Coltrane and the cinematic world of Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock, yeah. And his longtime composer, I think it's Bernard Herrmann, who also did pretty much all of the Hitchcock films, and he was also convinced at a certain point, Martin Scorsese convinced him to do the soundtrack for Taxi Driver, which is a little bit of a thing I want to play later on in this episode. I want to play a track from the Taxi Driver soundtrack. Have you seen that movie?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm not getting all these references that you're dropping tonight.
Another one on the movie watch list.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be like a 2-week.
We have not been keeping
at this point.
We have not been keeping track of any of these movies, so we're going to have to manually go through each episode.
But that's why we turn on the camera, so we can eventually go back and we have it recorded somehow, some way. But
so basically, Jason Swinscoe is melding these worlds together, kind of thing, to create the sound of Cinematic Orchestra. So if that gives a little bit of a teaser to the people of what they sound like. Obviously, if you are on the audio versions of this and you heard the first intro track, that was a track from their first album called Motion, which came out in 1999. And so he does actually integrate sample-based approach to the music as well, which is another interesting factor, because it sounds like it is all just like live jazz music.
And that's kind of what I was saying. Like, there's some samples, but it doesn't sound like samples.
But the early days was like heavily sample based. Like, it's where he got that sound from. Basically, by sampling old soul records, old jazz records, old movie soundtracks, melding them together, and then integrating that with live musicians that would come into the studio and overdub, like drums and horns and everything like that kind of thing. So,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you have a little bit of background about what these guys have accomplished as a group? Because they've been around for a minute. They have like 4 studio LPs out.
4 studio LPs. First one, 99, called Motion, which came out on Ninja Tune, and they're still on Ninja Tune. They've continued to be on that label.
And we've talked about other artists on the show
Bonobo is
Also a
also a Ninja Tune, yeah.
Awesome.
And then 2002, they came out with an album called Every Day. 2003, they came out with an album called Man with a Movie Camera. It's not a studio album, but we can talk a little bit about that later on. Which it was basically a live soundtrack to an old 1929 Soviet film documentary.
That would be interesting to watch.
We're getting very deep on this episode.
Yeah.
And then 2007, Mafleur, which contains the song that I know you've heard, that everyone's heard,
okay.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Mafleur.
Yeah. And then 2012, they came out with In Motion. It's not really considered one of their studio albums. And then 2020, To Believe. So it was really 2002, that track that really hit hard, called, I think it's called To Build a Home, that is used on many film soundtracks and is probably what they're most known for. And Jason Swinscoe always says that he's kind of shackled to that song at this point because everyone knows him for that. But we're going to get to it. We'll talk about it.
No, I know some artists get pigeonholed sometimes when they come up with something that hits a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it's also a testament to how good that piece of art that they created was.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's what we got going on for the Cinematic Orchestra.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of accomplishments, they're not a Grammy type of band. They're not a Mercury Music Prize type of band, I don't think. Although I think they should be. We talked about Mercury Music Prize before on previous episodes.
But these guys aren't in the tabloids.
No.
They're not dating the hottest pop stars and breaking up with the hottest pop stars and having scandals here and there. They're like some chill dudes who want to make some super good music, and they love music, and they just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even though there's been like they're in between two of their albums, there's like 12 years or something like that.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. They got a lot going on, and it's super cool. I've been excited to learn about these guys.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear more about what Jace has to say.
Well, from memory, because I couldn't find this in my research recently, but basically, like, I'm going to say this off the cuff right now, but I believe it to be true.
This is an off-the-cuff podcast.
We'll take it to be true. I believe at a certain point, Jason Swinscoe worked for Ninja Tune a little bit in some capacity, like as a part-time staff member or whatever.
Okay.
And if people don't know about Ninja Tune, it's a massive record label in the UK.
Are they? How massive is it compared to like Columbia or Universal?
No, it's not on that level. It's like an underground thing, but they've done so much stuff at this point that, like Bonobo, being one of their big artists. They have so many other artists on there that I can't really name off the top of my head, kind of thing. But it started with Cold Cut, and Cold Cut pioneered. We're one of the pioneers of sample-based music in the UK, kind of thing.
When I go to Subway, I get the cold cut combo.
Yeah, you mentioned that on another episode when I mentioned.
I already said that before.
Yeah.
Okay, that's ridiculous. I shouldn't have made that joke then.
It's a double joke. And so Cold Cut were like these two guys that were making sample-based music, and they formed this label called Ninja Tune, and they started signing all of these kind of artists that were in their wheelhouse of like trip hop, down tempo, instrumental hip hop. All
kind of jazzy or new jazz.
Yeah. All that type of stuff.
New as in NU.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think like Jason Swinscoe, when he was starting out making music, he did reference DJ Shadow as someone that he wanted to create music.
Another artist that keeps coming up in a lot of episodes. Yeah. Even though we don't mean to make any connections.
Yeah. And so, and I think he, like, when he started to do the early Cinematic Orchestra stuff, he was sending demos to the other guys at Ninja Tune, and they were giving him advice about like what he could change and stuff like that. And that's kind of how it sort of progressed a little bit. I'm saying this is off of memory because I know I heard him say that on an interview like that I watched probably more than 10 years ago. So. But it's in my head for some reason, so I believe it to be true.
It's there for a reason.
Yeah. But that's kind of a side thing. We should say that. So basically, Jason Swinscoe is the guy behind it. He actually started out just studying fine arts in Cardiff College in Wales, in UK.
Okay.
And he said it was a pretty open course where he could change departments. So he would like experiment with painting and photography and filmmaking and everything like that. And he said at that point it was just an open world for him, and he wasn't really connecting the dots between any of it.
Right.
And but in terms of music, he actually started when he was younger. When he was like, I think like 6 years old, he wanted to. He convinced his parents that to get him a guitar, kind of thing, and so he went to this music shop and was testing out all these acoustic guitars. And he was like a tiny little kid, and his arms wouldn't reach around the guitars, kind of thing. And so he asked them if they had anything smaller, and they went out into the back and they got kind of a smaller guitar, and they brought it out to him, and something he could like wrap his hands around, like the neck of the frets and everything like that. And so that's what he got. And he went home, and for the next like couple of years, basically, he said he spent his whole time listening to tracks on the radio, like pop tracks, and trying to figure out how to play them. And he always thought it was really difficult because he was like stretching his hands in like weird positions to like try and mimic the notes that he was hearing, sort of thing. And it wasn't until like he spoke to like a music tutor or some teacher that tuned his guitar for him. So he was basically trying to figure out all of these songs on an untuned guitar, and
which is impossible.
Which is impossible. Which is why he was stretching his hands in weird contorted positions and stuff. So when he finally got his guitar tuned, and then he continued on that path of basically teaching himself how to play guitar by trying to figure out what he was hearing on the radio and trying to mimic it and stuff like that. So
that's great, because one of the ways, I remember the story, I think I learned it in school, about Ben Franklin or Thomas Edison. Who's the one who flew the kite? Or who? No, Thomas Edison made the light bulb, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And like there's like this story, I don't know how true it is or whatever, but or just the sentiment behind it, but like he came up with 101 ways of how not to make a light bulb work.
Okay. Yeah.
But going through that process is what allowed him to figure out what you do need to make a light bulb work. And I see that in all aspects of life. Failure is a huge part of success. So if you can fail a lot, you're going to learn how to do something that's not a failure.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the vibe based on what you're saying.
Yeah.
That I'm getting, at least.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Which is cool. So, Jason's, let me back up a second, because I got to name the other guys in this band.
Yeah.
Or who have been associated with the band, at least.
Yeah.
I think the other guy, he was a drummer, Luke Flowers.
Yeah.
I think he's like kind of the second man, like the second-hand man to Jason.
Yeah.
As far as I was saying, at least in contemporary times. And then Phil France, Tom Chant, Nick Rom, and I hope I'm pronouncing this all right, Stuart McCallum.
Okay. Yeah.
I think, and then there's some past members we'll name real quick, because I got them on my notes. Jamie Coleman, Daniel Howard, Federico Ugi, Alex James, Patrick Carpenter, Clean Sadness. Yeah, I don't know.
That's
I don't know
name?
the story. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I'll research that on the on a break maybe, because that's interesting.
Yeah.
Name. But so basically what I'm saying is there's been a couple of people coming in and out of the band as they progressed.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Jason Swinscoe has been like the one main heart and soul of the group.
Yeah.
Just to get that clear.
Yeah.
So I guess we're up to the point where he was in school. Like I think we mentioned, and the school was Cardiff College. And that's in Wales, like you said?
Yeah.
Cool. And this was about 1990, and this is when he formed his first group.
Yeah.
Which is Crab Ladder.
Yeah.
Does that sound correct?
Yeah. Which was punk, rock, jazz fusion.
Sounds fun to me.
Something like that. Yeah.
I didn't look it up.
Yeah.
I always regret when I don't look it up, but we have a long list of things we have to look up before.
Yeah.
Secondary stuff to look up.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure that would be a fun project. Is that like a real project? Is it released still? I haven't even.
No,
I'll look it up on Spotify right now.
I don't think they released anything. I think they were just like a live band kind of thing. That type of situation.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything on Spotify.
Yeah.
Just
I think there was something on All Music. I saw the name linked
okay
to something. I didn't follow that link.
Well, that's what's interesting. When we were researching these artists, some of them only have stuff, a particular album on Bandcamp or something that's just only on YouTube or something. So they have these cool like works of art from back in their day that wasn't fully, quote unquote, fully released.
Yeah.
But it exists out there.
But he did say Crabletter's fusion of jazz and hardcore punk elements with experimental rhythms inspired Jason Swinscoe to further explore the possibilities of sampling. And so by the time the group's demise in mid-90s, he was DJing at various clubs and pirate radio stations in the UK. So that's something kind of he went into at that period and delved into sampling. Yeah.
Which I was just going to say as a fun fact, a pirate radio station. I've listened to some podcasts about that.
Yeah.
And it's basically a radio station that just doesn't have the proper legal credentials to be a radio station.
Yeah.
So kind of like pirates, pillage and burn and do whatever they want. They're kind of living outside of the rules of society.
And so there was a famous case of this in the UK called Radio Caroline, where they basically set up their radio studio on a ship. Right,
and this was in the podcast I was listening to, it just sounds so
and they
wacky.
Took it off the shores of England, so it was just outside of British waters, so it was in international waters, and so they couldn't be touched by the UK government, and it was a big thing, and it was massive, and like my parents' generation, I know people, I've met people that used to listen to it a lot, like in the 60s and stuff like that.
Crazy. Going back to the 60s and you're like, this is my station. Some guy's on a boat in international waters and he's got some good music. This is my station.
And they'd literally do shifts out there on the boat. They'd wake up at 7
I mean, they're out there, like they're not just going out there
they sleep
into
on
the bay. Like they're out there for months. I don't know.
This is the most extreme example of pirate radio. Usually it's like people just broadcasting on FM airwaves and keep having a
on
lookout
their ham radio or something.
When people aren't like harassing them, police and cops and shit and whatever. So,
But I mean, just a cool idea because you can research that. There's some. I think I heard it on a podcast called Stuff You Should Know. It was about pirate radio stations.
Nice.
Just in general. And it's just an interesting part of history about, if you like music and how music is, how you can reach out to share music and how people are discovering music and how far people are willing to go to share music. I got a ship. I'm going to go illegally out to the international waters. That part's not illegal, but I don't know. I don't know that much about it. If anybody knows any cool facts, hit us up. But
now
it's not like illegal. Like, how illegal was it?
I mean, it's illegal because you need a license to broadcast on FM radio waves,
which that seems so totalitarian.
Kind of,
like controlling. Like you can't broadcast signals.
Yeah. So, like, I
mean, am I wrong?
No, like so I don't know if you know about this, but in the UK, we have a thing called a TV license. So every household in the UK has to pay X amount of dollars a year to have a TV.
Like a tax?
Yeah, it's TV
just
license.
to have a TV.
Yeah, but most of that money goes to the BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation.
Because BBC's always been killing it with content, right? They're just A+ content creators.
Yeah. So they used to have all these vans that went around the country and they drive around neighborhoods kind of thing, and they detect illegal TV signals, and then they go into people's households and they'd like find them for having a TV.
And some dude in his mom's basement running some pirate radio station.
Yeah. So like there's all this thing.
Sharing music.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It's funny. I don't really know of any stories of pirate radio in the US. I don't know about that. But in the UK, it's like a big thing. And yeah, it'd be great. Like sometimes I'll be driving around with my dad in the car as a kid, and you're driving through London, you're scanning the airwaves, and you just pick up like a pirate signal.
It's a little staticky, it's a little fuzzy, but you can,
yeah,
it's there, you
it's
got
just
it.
like one dial between like a couple of frequencies sort of thing.
Yeah.
You just pick it up like for a few neighbor blocks or whatever kind of thing. Interesting stuff. We are digressing.
No, for sure. But what an interesting topic to discuss. But that's not what we're here for. We're talking about Cinematic Orchestra here on Roots to Grooves.
But he did DJ on pirate radio station. And, in this day and age, it's so easy to start a station. We started Signl, and, we're not on FM or whatever. That'll be hard to do. Also, there's no... by the way, people, they're not giving out FM licenses in the US anymore. So even if you wanted to get a license, you can't because they're not giving them out.
So now you have to become a part of some conglomerate station that already exists and become part of their ecosystem. You can't...
To get a frequency, yeah. You'd have to be like,
That's insane. I mean, I understand there's a lot of people in the world, or in America at least, and everywhere else, of course.
Yeah.
So there's some level of... I can't think of the word. Saturation.
Yeah.
Just like musical artists, it's saturated. There's a lot of music coming out. It's easier than ever to make and produce music.
Yeah.
And same for radio. It's easier than ever to share music and be a part of these wavelengths and radio waves. But I guess I don't know. I don't know much about this topic, I guess, but it's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Why is that illegal? Why can't you just shoot a radio wave out there?
I don't know. I think it's like a hangover of old rules, you're right? Because FM, radio waves are open signals, kind of like the internet in a way. And but there's only a certain band of frequencies that you can use,
and that's finite.
Yeah.
So that's why there's only kind of a finite amount of people who can take over these airwaves. So there's
and they don't want people setting up stations and just like spewing
whatever they want,
like hate stuff or racism or whatever it is, kind of thing.
Free speech.
Yeah, free speech.
So
all that as well. Yeah,
and anyway, different topic, interesting nonetheless.
It is a whole world. Yeah. It's a very interesting world.
Well, I'm glad we got to touch on the pirate radio thing. So
yeah.
But that's what. So Jason Swinscoe was up in there a little bit into that.
He did a little bit of that DJing on some of those pirate stations. Yeah, because like even though it's illegal, there was some big stations that
for sure
kind of managed to scrape by a little bit. Even if they didn't really succeed, they kind of succeeded in the way that the shows that they put on and the DJs they put on, some of those people were able to go on and create careers outside of that.
Yeah.
Like Giles Peterson, who I've brought up before, major inspiration to me. He started out on pirate radio. He's like a massive DJ, radio DJ in the UK, and DJs live as well around the world, playing all kinds of funky stuff, jazzy stuff. Yeah.
I love the funk. I love the jazz.
Yeah.
I love the groove.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So we're like mid 90s.
Yes.
What does he do? Does he finish school? Does he drop out?
Yeah. I don't know anything about his degree, but I know that he finished school, college, and it was a degree he was doing. So I guess you call it university or whatever. Kind of
at Cardiff College in UK.
And his crab ladder band had dissolved at that point, and it was at that point where he really sort of started delving into the music and realizing that was his creative output. After everything else he'd been studying, he realized, and I don't think he studied music at fine art college either. It was all visual art, and so the music part of it. I mean, he was already doing the music part of it while trying to teach himself guitar from the age of 6, all the way up until he was older.
So Swinscoe definitely has a history with music in general.
Yeah. And so I guess it wasn't until after he graduated that he, started to piece those things together,
Right.
and create the sound of Cinematic Orchestra.
Yeah, so that brings us to the first album, Cinematic Orchestra's debut album, Motion.
Yeah,
And so that's 1999,
yeah,
right in the midst of Y2K, I guess. But
Yeah.
it was a critical success. It was great,
yeah,
and it was received well. And they got to perform at the Directors Guild Award ceremony, which was a Lifetime Achievement Award for Stanley Kubrick.
yeah.
And he's huge.
Exactly.
And so that's a huge honor to be able to play a show like that.
Yeah,
And that's pretpretty crazy that you can do that off of one album.
yeah.
That's a testament to how good that album is and how good you are as a artist or at least a marketer for your music.
Yeah, and it's a very interesting album because if you listen to it, it sounds very jazzy. But Jason said about it that he said it was a total exploration by himself, and he said there were musicians involved doing live overdubs and a couple of drum things. He said, but generally it was all sampled, and he used. To name some old equipment, he used a Mac Performer C630. I don't even know what that is. A Mac Performer 630, and an S3000 Akai sampler and Keybase, and it was all MIDI stuff.
Was there live instrumentation on that, or was
For
it?
the overdubs, yeah, he had some people come through to
But
do some
primarily,
overdubs. But the basis of it was all sample based.
Sampled, like you said. Okay, cool.
And he said he had a maximum of 3 seconds of sample time.
For each sample.
Yeah, like 3 seconds. And he said that limitation was actually a really good thing. And he was working in mono. He didn't even have stereo. So he did that whole album.
He released it without ever listening to it in stereo?
I mean, he must have, I think, at a certain point heard it in stereo. But when he was working with the samplers and doing the sampling stuff, it was all in mono. Yeah. So with one speaker in his studio, his home studio kind of thing. So
That's interesting.
yeah.
I'd like to know more about that, about how you organize that. That seems like a wild way to produce a critically acclaimed album.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But no, another testament to how creative this guy is.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's super into art and music and getting these emotions out and expressing himself in super cool ways. And he has that drive, and that's what led this group to go on to greater things. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess he just started working on some other stuff in the meantime. After that, I think he was working on Man with a movie camera. Was that? Are we already going too ahead?
We're going too ahead.
Okay.
So before we move on, let's just play another track off of.
That's
Motion.
what we need. So debut album.
Break things up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down. This was 1999.
Yeah, this is 1999. It's called Motion. It was like he said, primarily sample based. He used a lot of samples from some kind of big artists like Nina Simone sampled and stuff like that. And he said, well, later on they had to pay for it.
Oh, they didn't get a lot of samples cleared.
Yeah, well, he said like sometimes they'd send the record to Ninja Tune, and they'd sort of make a decision about how long of a sample he used or how much of he used of it, and whether they should clear it or not, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like if it's just like 1 second, like
Should we check or just
release
it? Just release it.
But I think the genius in this album is how it sounds like a cohesive jazz record, even though it was like basically collage pieced together. And if you listen to the tracks on this album, I don't think you don't think that. I think you think it's like legit kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I mean, you can kind of hear it if you listen closely, but let's just play this track, Channel 1 Suite, and then we'll get back into the conversation.
Channel 1 on pirate radio.
Signl. So that was a track called Channel 1 Suite from Motion, their very first album, Cinematic Orchestra.
1999 off Ninja Tune.
Yeah. And
Label?
yeah, what was that?
Oh, the name of the label, Ninja Tune.
The name of the label.
I was like,
Yeah.
Ninja Tune. I just said I
Yeah,
should say that that's the label. But yeah, so this whole thing it's moody, it's jazzy. It's mostly sample based, like you said, and it's got a kind of an old school noir film kind of feel.
Yeah, this is the thing I wanted to bring up. I wanted to take a little segue here and play a track off the Taxi Driver soundtrack.
Nice.
Because Jason said the music is complex to explain, but it's inspired from jazz from the 60s in its origin, inspired by artists such as Max Roach, John Coltrane, Elvin Jones, Jimmy Garrison, and Herbie Hancock, but also the film world of Hitchcock and Bernard Herrmann. Bernard Herrmann being a film composer that did a lot of the Hitchcock films and also did Taxi Driver. And I think you can hear an influence from the track I'm about to play called Thank God for the Rain. It's very short kind of piece here from the Taxi Driver soundtrack, but I just want to spin it for a little bit for some vibes.
Yeah. Let's get some context up in here.
All right. So that's a very short piece, but that's from the soundtrack for Taxi Driver. I think you can hear some influences there from
100%.
the mood, the vibe.
It's like if you just took that and added a little bit of hip hop influence.
Yeah. Some jazzy drums in there.
Yeah. And then you got Cinematic Orchestra.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is cool. It's interesting to see how much hip hop has permeated every genre of music.
Yeah.
It's it's like the new rock and roll. Mm-hmm. It's the new rock.
Yeah.
Now we have rap verses instead of a guitar solo.
Yeah, there you go.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just a little touch on hip hop and stuff, but I mean, you could definitely hear the influence on that. That sounds great. That definitely sounded really old school. Cool.
Yeah, it's a great soundtrack by that. Great movie, and I think the soundtrack really drove that movie a little bit. So we gotta watch it.
That sounds great. No, I
Gotta set this project.
I wish that track went on longer. Yeah, it was fun to listen to. It's kind of mysterious. It's kind of it's like
Yeah.
Like it's
what's
like,
going on here?
Yeah, it's like intriguing. I don't know what I'm thinking about, but it's interesting and mysterious.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah, awesome choice. Thanks for playing that, dude.
Yeah.
That gives us a lot of context.
Yeah.
So that's super cool. So I mean, where do we go from here?
So
I mean, what was he doing in between that album?
I think just working on the next album, really, to be honest with you. Every Day came out in 2002, and that was the album that I really cottoned on to somehow from somewhere, listening to the radio, probably a Jazz Pizza radio show.
And real quick, before we go on to Every Day, I'm still on motion.
Okay.
Let me just take one quick step back.
Okay, yeah, do it.
Real quick. Because I had a quote, I think it was Jason Swinscoe, give us a little bit of a tidbit of context for what he was coming from, his mindset for making motion in 1999. He said, I think we both have, referring to the main other dude in the band or the group. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry, guys. I think we both have great optimism about music and about its power and the power we felt in our lives experiencing it. That's what we want to create for other people and for ourselves.
Yeah.
So just cool little context there to drive that home where he was coming from and what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
And it totally makes sense. And then that was critically acclaimed. And like I said before, they got to do a performance for the Directors Guild Lifetime Achievement Award ceremony for Stanley Kubrick, who's, credited for being one of the best directors of all time.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. But yeah, sorry to take a step back, but we're back on every day.
Yeah. Well, actually, like that, what you just said reminds me of what I found out about their first ever show that they did as Cinematic Orchestra. I'm not sure what year it was, but it was at a place called the Brighton Jazz Bop.
Sounds like a bopper to me. I want to go.
Yeah. And it was the first ever show they performed. And Jason Swinscoe said there was a DJ called Ross Dewberry. I think it's Ross Dewberry or might be Russ Dewberry. He was like a jazz trip-hop DJ who was putting on a show with the jazz vocalist called Leon Thomas. And I don't know who Leon Thomas is myself, but apparently Ross Dewberry needed a support band to play before Leon Thomas. And so they asked Jason to do the show with him. And he was like, well, it's one of his heroes. Apparently Leon Thomas is like a famous jazz vocalist from the States. And he was over in Brighton doing this show. And it forced Jason to take his music out of the studio for the first time and perform it live on stage kind of thing. And that ended up being the first show of him doing that.
How long ago was that show after that album Motion was released?
I don't know. I unfortunately don't have the context of the timeline.
No, it's all right. That's all right.
But yeah, but I feel like it was probably during In Motion, or Motion, sorry. Yeah, so.
Sure.
They made that happen kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm just trying to get some more context as much as I can because like I said, coming into this week for this research and stuff, I didn't know about Cinematic Orchestra as much as you do. So all the context I can get, the better.
Well, so only a couple of years later, 2002, they came out with Every Day, which I think is probably I don't really go back to Motion at all as an album for some reason, even though it's great. It's wonderful, but Every Day is the one for me that really stood out.
That hits a little harder for you?
Yeah, and it's got, it had some sort of seminal tracks of my growing up kind of thing that I heard, and a lot of collaborations with Fontella Bass is on there on a couple of tracks, and Roots Manuva, who's like a British rapper that is really good, and he's had a lot of solo albums out as well. And he also performed on Left Field. He was always he always showed up in random places on features for other artists kind of thing.
You wouldn't expect him.
Yeah.
There he is.
And so he's on this album as well. Really great vocal performance from him.
Cool.
So yeah,
the Every Day was also on Ninja Tune.
Yeah.
We're talking 2002 this came out.
Yeah.
So it's eclectic. It takes you on a kind of a tour of soul and jazz.
Yeah.
Blues, pop, funk.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, like I said, eclectic.
Yeah.
It's hitting some different marks. So I think they definitely extended their range from the first album.
Yeah.
And they're reaching they're pushing towards their limits and seeing where they can go as a group, and without ever coalescing into a personal style. They just they're borrowing from pop, from jazz, soul, making an eclectic album. And I like eclectic albums where it can kind of, if you can do it well and can remain consistent while being eclectic and doing taking different vibes from different genres of music. And if there's some kind of heart and soul that's consistent through that album, that's really fun. It takes you on a journey. And I think they really did that on this album. So it showed a lot of growth and a lot of, people were intrigued. And I think they were intrigued about what they were doing. And that's what's cool. If you can hear that, then, if you're having fun, you're doing something right. You know? So we're talking about Every Day, the Cinematic Orchestra. A lot of these songs are over 9 minutes long.
Yeah, they're pretty long,
So just to give some more, info and context about what was going on here, at least 3 or 4 of the songs are over 9 minutes long.
Yeah.
At least. And those are just the ones off the top of my head. But yeah, the album can be read kind of mainly as a constant static, like continuing atmosphere of like gloom or suspense.
Yeah.
They kind of harbor this energy.
Not as suspenseful as that Taxi Driver thing I just played.
That track you played was very suspenseful. Yeah. It's like,
what's
creeping around the corner. Like
exactly.
Yeah, I totally got that vibe. And so I think, like I said, they're kind of borrowing from that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And then taking from these different genres of music and kind of adding it all together to create their sound. Yeah. And I think that was a big step for them to move to the, like literally taking a step up the ladder or whatever.
Yeah. And I also think like the collaboration with Fontella Bass was big because she was like a pretty famous R&B soul singer in the back in the day. I think like her biggest track they said was Rescue Me, which is a pretty famous track, I think. If I'm thinking about, I
think that was super famous.
If I'm thinking about the right thing, let me just pull it up. Not resume me.
Well, yeah, no, I can go. I got a couple other notes because I just like the suspense. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that kind of gloomy, like what's going on, kind of questions.
Yeah.
If tracks and music can make you ask questions that you don't know what the answers are, you don't know what the context is even or what the story is, because it's not we're not talking about a real. There's not a protagonist character.
Yeah.
But through the music, you kind of feel like you're the character traveling through feelings and emotion.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they really got across, which is really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So like kind of they're, creating some cool like background music for your own life in this imaginary, world that surrounds you while you're listening to this album.
Yeah, man, it's cinematic. It's like you can just listen to their music and be in a cinematic world, not a specific movie.
But your own movie.
Yeah.
Totally. That's a great thing that they achieved. I think that's super cool.
Let's see what this sounds like.
Come on
So I'm taking you on a musical journey, Jesse.
I'm strapped in and ready to go.
Because you know that track, right?
Yeah. And who's saying that? Who's the artist?
Fontella Bass.
Okay, good. I've never known that. I've known that track since it feels like I've been alive.
Exactly.
But I never knew the name.
Now, let's fast forward 40 plus something years to her feature on Evolution by Cinematic Orchestra.
Heck yeah. Nice.
The stars light up my life. The stars light up my life. So bright, everlasting. The sun light up my life. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh. light up my life. So bright, everlasting. The sun, light up my life.
So what a transition.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool.
I mean, I'm sure Fontella Bass has done many other things in between in those intervening years from 1965 all the way through 2002. But a track to have her on this, and it's called Evolution, is, it's nice. It's great.
No, it's super great.
It says something. It's like a bit of a sentiment in there or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it tells a story. It's a narrative.
Yeah.
And that's really cool because all people coming out with music every day and it's all a conversation.
Yeah.
What do you got to say? What do you got to add? What's your input?
Yeah.
What are you saying about what I'm doing? What should I say about what you're doing? And that's cool. It was really like the track you played before that from 1965. It like amazing track.
Yeah.
Super popular, super great, good energy.
Yeah.
And this track, she didn't bring the same energy. It's not the same kind of song.
No.
It's not the same kind of track.
She has an older voice, noticeably, but it's still very, very powerful. Like,
She brought the same energy, but in a different way.
Yeah.
And so that's super cool to see as a person appreciating music, but to see an artist be able to do, bring energy in different formats.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's great. And that's a, sign of a good musician, good artist.
Yeah.
So really cool. Good.
Good little mix, little journey,
Yeah,
musical journey we went through.
I'm speechless. I'm speechless.
So let's fast forward a little bit. So only a year after that album came out, they came out with an album called Man with a Movie Camera. It wasn't really an album, but they basically did this project where they did a live score for an old Russian, or I guess you call it Soviet back then, documentary in 1929. And I actually got the opportunity to see this live
When you were in the UK?
when I was in the UK around this time. I saw the Cinematic Orchestra at the Barbican, which we've talked about a couple of times. It's a big art centre in London, and has all this brutalist architecture, is what they call it.
And so this was like 2007.
Well, they came out with this in 2003, so I think I probably saw them around that time, or like 2005 or something like that. Yeah, it wasn't too long after this came out, and 2004 or 2005, I saw them play this live. I went into London by myself, had a few Jack and Cokes at the bar.
Sounds good. That's what I would do.
Talked to some random dude about Suzumu Yokota, who's a Japanese electronic ambient artist for some reason.
For some reason.
That came up in random conversation with a random dude. And and it was all like a sit down thing. You sit down and all these stairs. I was in the front row. I don't know how I managed to get this ticket. And I saw Cinematic Orchestra play live with an orchestra. And then in the background, they projected the movie. And so this is an interesting project and album for them because it's kind of a mishmash and a rehashing of some of their existing material. And then like a few new compositions sort of thing. But they did this. I think they also released a DVD of it as well, with the movie, with the soundtrack to it kind of thing. And it's very, it's like a black and white movie. It's very industrial. It's about like, they say it's a documentary, so it's not even like characters or anything like that. It's like filmed footage from the 1930s in like Soviet era.
Right.
And like filming all these people like at work kind of thing. I feel like there is some kind of narrative to it. But there was no There were no like cue cards with any subtitles or anything like that.
Is it a story? Like, is there a main character?
Yeah,
that
I'm
you
like
kind of follow?
this has been a long time.
No,
This is
it was a while ago. Yeah, I'm not
So I don't remember it, but I do remember them doing it, and I think the music was at the forefront of that performance. And afterwards, like Jason Swinscoe was like DJing in the bar upstairs, kind of thing. And I hung around for a little bit, and I kind of wanted to speak to him, like I was sort of like hanging around.
Yeah,
But he was busy DJing, and was like, "Yeah, I was like, I'm not doing that." This is what I was doing when I was 19 years old.
I mean, you're surrounded by a lot of dope people though, like in the cool spots. Like, I mean, you're going by the bar where Damon Albarn was chilling, and you were coming into contact with some like huge artists.
I've always just not even brushed elbows, or just like whatever. But yeah.
I just walked by him because
yeah. Now it's just a romantic vision of history of like things,
Yeah, well, and these artists they're blown up in your head because they do awesome things in the world, but it doesn't necessarily make them more important or than anybody else that are here walking the world.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's an interesting thing for me because it's constantly in the media like, this guy's awesome, this guy's famous, this guy's scandalous.
Yeah.
And it's like, why am I not in the tabloids? I have crazy stories, put me in the tabloids.
I'm scandalous. Yeah,
I'm way more scandalous than that guy. You don't even know. But that's cool. So cool progression.
Yeah, so they did that whole project, and musically, like I was saying, it was a rehashing of older material and stuff like that. I do remember him when they performed this live. He was like on a keyboard triggering samples, sort of thing. But he had like a mini orchestra and live musicians doing everything else, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was really good. And but
did they play it all the way through, like track by track, like 1, 2, 3, or was it mixed up?
No, it was. I think if you check out the release on Spotify, Man with the Movie Camera, that is in order of how they performed it. To the movie. Yeah,
that's the way I would want it. That's
exactly.
Great.
Yeah. So that was like it's one of my most fondest memories of seeing live music. Totally different scenario where everyone's sitting down and all that sort of thing, and I was by myself, which is, I don't know, people don't really go to. Like, I went into the city, 40 miles into the city to go see a show by myself at this oppressive brutalist Barbican Arts Center. Yeah. But anyway,
I do that all the time. I've gone to shows by myself. I love it.
Yeah.
It's great. I go to movies by myself.
Yeah.
I'll take myself to dinner. You got to take yourself on dates.
I mean, I've had dinner by myself. Yeah.
I think it's great.
I've even been chilling at a bar in London, just having a quiet beer by myself, and then other people rocking up and being like, "Why are you sitting by yourself?"
Like it's a problem. Like something's not okay.
It's like, no, I'm cool. I had my newspaper back then. This is before smartphones. I'm not that old, but come on, it's No,
I didn't have a smartphone until 5 years ago. So.
There you go. Yeah, I was rocking around in the early 2000s UK without a smartphone. Just newspapers.
For whatever reason, it feels even better to be in the UK with the newspaper. For some reason, the UK seems like it's generally old-fashioned.
It's all generally old-fashioned.
I'm just coming from a California boy, American guy, so whatever.
Well, that's the thing. When you're waiting for a bus in England, it's like, well, I'm going to stop into this pub because the bus only comes once every hour. So,
So you got a couple minutes to spare. Why not?
So anyway, let's fast forward to this album because
Let's go.
I want to play this track. Ma Fleur was the album they came out with in 2007.
Mm-hmm. And that's 2 words, like Ma Fleur.
Yeah,
just
I think so.
For those people who care about words and stuff. Because do you know what that means? I didn't look it up.
No.
Okay, let me give a couple notes while you look it up what it means. We're going to do a little... vocab research right here, live on Roots to Grooves. We're talking about My Fleur. It was released on Domino record label. This was 2007. Yeah. So it has a lot of good moments. It's a little bit of a reinvention of style. I'm just reading off my notes right here.
My Flower.
My Flower?
Yeah.
That's how it's pronounced?
In French, ma fleur is my flower in English.
My flower, bro.
Yeah.
Did you listen to my flower? Did you get my flower I sent you?
Can I show you my flower?
Want to see my flower? So I listened to this. It feels a little bit stripped back. There's some guitar. There's some simplistic piano, and guitar. It's warm. There's emotional, minimalistic elements and feel to it.
Yeah.
Which is cool. So I guess, Mafleur 2007, it was a soundtrack to a film that had not been released yet. That was kind of the idea going into it.
Yeah.
I guess, at least in Swinscoe's head space, as he's kind of creating this thing.
Yeah.
So like the soundtrack was born before the script. And so I guess it lacked the minimum amount of drama or complexity required to sustain attention. But it's got like a noir, the N-O-I-R, noir.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm not...
Noir.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm not pronouncing things correctly, so I have to remind myself. But kind of a noir atmosphere and a kind of neoclassical kind of vibe. Or at least arrangements, and then some of it's elegant, it's graceful, it's so here's what's interesting, and one of my notes, it's ultimately kind of muzak, and so boom, this is the vocabulary word of the podcast.
Muzak.
Are you familiar with that word?
Yeah, but usually like in like elevator music from like the 1960s.
Well, that's basically what muzak is.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have your music that's out there, right? Pop songs, good songs, and then muzak. And I was literally listening to a podcast on my way here today about muzak.
Okay.
And that was just a random synchronicity because these guys release a podcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Right.
And today was just the day
Yeah. Okay.
that came out.
Yeah.
And it totally coincided with what we're talking about tonight, which is super cool.
Yeah.
And, that means something. There's some kind of synchronicity action going on here.
Something.
Something.
Yeah.
But yeah, muzak, like you said, elevator music. It's like when artists will recreate a song that's already been released.
Yeah.
Even like we've all heard it probably, elevator music or like background music.
And they'll do like a rendition of it, or maybe change the key so they have to pay copyright or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like a huge thing is there's no vocals.
Yeah.
So there's like a vocal in a song, a pop song that's released by that artist. And then a different artist will recreate that song with completely new instrumentation.
Yeah.
Like playing the music again, not sampling it, like recreating it in a slightly different way. But instead of having a melody of, a vocal with the artist, it'll be a saxophone or instrumental melody.
So this reminds me of another story in the UK where my parents used to go to the market, which was like the market stalls kind of thing, and they'd
Like
have
farmer's market?
kind of, yeah, but they'd have all these like cheap CDs and stuff like that you could buy. And my dad for some reason used to like buying the Kenny G instrumental albums kind of thing.
Oh, Kenny G, classic.
Kenny G from Seattle.
He's from Seattle?
Yeah.
For real?
I thought that was. I just quietly Googled it before I said what I was going to say. He was born in Seattle.
I didn't know that. That's kind of wild. That's cool.
Yeah,
That's a fun fact if I ever did see one.
Yeah, Kenny G. Does he live in Seattle? That's what someone's asking.
So after we record this, we can go find his house and drive, and
Yeah,
we can egg his house.
But he used to do like all of these like big pop songs, and they just do them like instrumental style on his saxophone, like Lionel Richie songs and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's. I don't know exactly what you're talking about because I haven't heard that. But basically, we're talking. Well, I mean, what we started this conversation with muzak.
Yeah,
Not music.
Muzak.
Muzak. M-U-Z-A-C.
Yeah, it's not music.
It's muzak.
It's Muzak.
And that's how you say it. Don't get it wrong.
Yeah.
And it's super interesting. So
Can you eat muzaka whilst you're listening to Muzak?
what's muzaka?
Do you know what a muzaka is?
No, but I'm getting hungry.
It's like a Greek. It's like a Greek lasagna. with eggplant.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's good.
Eggplant.
Yeah, I can make it. We'll do movie night and I'll make a muzaka.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we'll invite everyone from TikTok.
I only know, all one of them. So
Yeah.
I only know eggplant from the emoji that in texting. You know,
You don't eat eggplant usually?
I don't put eggplant in my mouth, bro. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
That's an emoji.
But okay, but music, elevator music, background music, recreated from a real song that was released in a new way, new instrumentation, no vocals. It's super chill. And I mean, I don't know. Does that sound kind of a little bit of a well-rounded idea?
Yeah.
You know, it's off the cuff, but does that make sense to you?
Yeah. No, I definitely have known about it.
I just learned about it like today. So
Oh, yeah. No, I've known about it for a while. And yeah, it is like instrumental, loungy versions of popular songs.
yeah, and it's been around for like decades now.
Yeah.
And I've heard, before I even knew this term, Muzak, I've heard versions of this from like, I don't know the artist who created the Muzak version, but like versions of a Nirvana song. It's like a heavy grunge thing, but then
They've done it in a jazzy way.
Exactly, precisely. And it's like, sometimes it's cool, sometimes it's cringe.
Yeah. Cringe comes to mind when I think of Muzak mostly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I think it all depends on the set and setting, you know, where you are and why there's music. But this Muzak that we're talking about, since we were on this little tangent, you know, it's like there was a time where it was everywhere. It was like a new thing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really accepted, but then it was accepted. And it's like you hear it in restaurants, then you go into the elevator, you hear it. You know, you walk down your hall of your hotel, some light music playing, and it's meant to be like not noticeable.
Yeah. Unoffensive background music.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like, it's like you want it to be interesting enough to like, if you were listening to it and paying attention, it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of vibing. That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting musically. But if you're not paying attention to it, it just provides that nice background feel rather than having an awkward silence. Ready? Go. You don't want to listen to that, guys. I couldn't even hold it for that long because I got too nervous. That was as long as I could go, and it's weird. But if there was some soft background music, they're just like,
I mean, it's
like, okay, I'm chilling.
Last week we had the background street performer playing out there.
yeah, he's fired. Where is he tonight? He was supposed to be out there at like 5 p.m. and he's not even.
No, he was just doing a trial period, I guess. I don't know.
Just a Costco sampler, like.
Exactly.
Jeez. But anyway, so that's Muzak, as far as I know. I was just learning about it like today, and that's super cool that it coincides with what we're talking about today.
Well, hey, this song, if you don't know it, you will know it. I'm sure you've seen some. This song gets used a lot. It's been used in romantic comedies and weird things and all kinds of places. And yeah, Jason says he's shackled to it. That seems kind of negative. I think he's kind of tired of it.
He's married to it.
He's married to it. He's kind of tired of being asked about this song and everything like that. But I'm gonna play it because it is really good, and it has a former Canadian hockey goalkeeper on the vocals.
Sure, that sounds great. I couldn't have thought something more random.
That is a random intro, and I will explain more about what I mean after we play this, which I'm sure you will recognize.
Always with the cliffhanger.
There is a house built out of stone, wooden floors, walls, and window sills, tables and chairs warmed by all of the dust. This is a place where I don't feel alone. This is a place place where I feel at home. I built a home for you, for me, until you disappeared from me, from you. And now it's time to leave and turn to dust. Out in the garden where we planted the seeds, there is a tree as old as me. Branches were sown by the color of green. The ground had rose and past its knees. By the cracks of his skin I climbed to the top. I climbed the tree to see the world. When the gusts came around to blow me down, held on as tightly as you held on to me.
How do you feel after that track, Jesse?
I mean, very sentimental, very, I don't know, melancholy and kind of sad. Like, I mean, it's emotional, like in a good way though, because it was a great track.
Yeah.
And a track that can draw me in like that has my stamp of approval. It's very emotional, but I don't know if I don't think I've ever heard it.
Really? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
It does sound familiar.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if I've heard it or if I've heard things.
They've used parts of it in movies, if not the whole thing.
I was thinking like maybe I've heard a sample from that in something because it does sound familiar.
Yeah.
And I could not put my finger on it.
So that track
which is interesting.
Featured Patrick Wilson. He's a film composer, pianist based in Montreal, Canada. Apparently, side note, he makes explorative chamber pop with his band that is also called Patrick Watson. So I don't know what chamber pop is. That's for another episode, maybe.
That's that's on our vocabulary episode.
But that track they wrote it in 3 days, and so when I mentioned about the hockey thing, because apparently Jason said everyone plays hockey in Canada. And Patrick was one of them, and he was a very bad hockey player, so they put him in goal kind of thing. And he had a mutual friend that heard him sing once and said, "Oh, you need to meet this guy. He has a really good voice," kind of thing. And he was just like, "Okay, whatever." And Jason was in Paris at the time, and he was like, writing a few things. He came up with those chords that you heard. And he went to Canada, he went to Montreal, he ended up meeting with Patrick, and over the course of 3 days, they just created what you just heard kind of thing. And what he said about it...
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And he said, what about it is that you can't plan for that type of thing. This has been one of his biggest tracks. It's been the one that gets used a lot in movies and everything like that. And he said, it just happened. It was the magic of the moment of the meeting. He just basically sat down and he played those chords to him on the piano, and then Patrick Wilson is a pianist as well. Watson, sorry, started playing those, and then came up with the melody and the lyrics, kind of thing. And
that's amazing. The magic of the moment.
Yeah.
So who was singing on that track?
Patrick Watson.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah. So I think he's mostly known for maybe more sort of rocky type of stuff or whatever. I haven't really heard anything else he's done, but yeah.
I mean, but it's that track brought me down, just some emotional levels, and I'm like, oh man, and I was like, oh wait, I have to remember, I still feel good, everything's good.
Yeah.
Because that track was heavy.
Yeah, it's very heavy.
In a light way, it's orchestral piano.
Yeah.
With a nice soft vocal.
Yeah.
In the vein of the band we're talking about, Cinematic Orchestra, the group we're talking about. I don't know. Do you call them a band? Would you call them a group?
I've heard other people on the internet call them a project, not even a band.
That it feels more like a project than a band.
Yeah.
But at the same time, technically, I would also call them a band if I had to technically put them in a box like that.
So I did see them play in Seattle just before COVID. I think it might have been after we saw the Strokes.
Really?
I'm not sure. It could have been before that.
I thought that was the Strokes show was great, and it was right on the cusp of when everything was. That was the last show the Strokes played.
Yeah,
and the rest of their tour got canceled, so it was right on the edge.
Yeah, I think it might have been before that. Then I'd booked tickets for a year. I booked 2 tickets without knowing who would come with me, kind of thing. And my friend came with it to it, and it was a tiny venue because the last time I saw them perform was at the Barbican with thousands of people in an auditorium,
right?
And then I saw them play in Seattle with I don't know, maybe a few hundred people.
It was much smaller. What venue was it?
It was the one in Lower Queen Anne. The what's it called? I don't know what that's called.
Oh,
you know the one I'm talking about. It looks like a cinema on the outside, kind of thing.
Yeah, not coming to my brain though.
Yeah. So I saw them play there. It was a tiny venue. There wasn't really many people in there, but it was very. They played this track. They played a few other things. My friend was like, well, this is like depressing.
Well, that's how but that's a testament to the power that they're giving to this music.
Yeah.
And like if I feel depressed after listening to a song,
Yeah.
that's great. Like that just happened to me. I was like, damn, it's like so beautiful and melancholy and like nostalgic and sad and heavy.
I loved it. Like I've always loved them for, you know, their jazzy kind of approach to things. I admittedly, when I saw them in Seattle, I was like, oh yeah, there's a lot more down tempo. But they had like a couple of singers. They had the full band. There was at least 6 or 7 of them on stage, kind of thing. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I love that type of mood anyway. So, you know, it's not for everyone, but you know, I like it.
No, I love it too.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place for it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to play that when I'm like, I'm going to hang out with my buddies on a Sunday. Like it's the summertime. Let's go to the beach.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not going to play that song.
We'll put this track on. Yeah.
Sad beach day. But, you know, it's just, that's the way it is. There's sad music and there's fun music and there's happy and sad music and it's all glorious and beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's a time and a place to listen to different stuff. I certainly listen to, you know, sad and kind of darker music sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, I generally tend towards kind of upbeat, mid-tempo, guitar, rock-based alternative music.
Yeah.
But it's all good, bro.
No.
And I don't know. That was like that seriously hit me. Like listening to that on my headphones,
Yeah.
and it's just really powerful.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. So and props to them for being able to create something like that.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's all about. For me, like I'm trying to create music that if I can make you feel something, whatever that is,
Yeah.
no feeling is wrong.
Yeah.
Especially if that's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
If trying to make somebody feel angry through a song and they feel that, success.
Yeah.
If I want to push the sadness into some music and you feel sad when you listen to it, success.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Because I see music as communicating emotions. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm not trying to get all so esoteric or ethereal and, you know, weird. But like, I don't know. That's what I believe. So there you go.
Yeah. No, music is emotion.
It's cool to experience that. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, that's the thing. Those are those tracks sometimes that just, I think that one puts the hairs on the back of your head for whatever reason. And, yeah, it definitely touches you kind of thing. And so, you know, let's fast forward on from there because that was 2007.
Cool. So we got a ways to go. Let's get out of this. That was some heavy energy, I feel like, and let's lighten it up because.
Well, we're about to end the show.
Okay, we're done.
From 2007 to 2021, but their last album came out only in 2020, so it took them a long time.
Which what 12 years?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, we're fast forwarding, but we're not really fast forwarding. This is just where the story picks up.
Yeah, I mean, they've done some stuff in between then, just not studio albums. Like they've done some like kind of residencies or like performances with like orchestras and things they've done in like Australia and stuff like that. And Barbican again. In 2012, they did something called In Motion. They curated a series of events at London's Barbican Centre where classic silent films were shown with newly commissioned soundtracks. So like highlights from that were featured on a release that they put out in 2012 called In Motion. But it wasn't really an album from them until To Believe in 2020. And Jason said it was it's a little bit more electronic. He said he's got a new palette of sounds that he was playing with. They did make a brief appearance in 2016. And they
Playing live, you mean?
Yeah, playing live, and they released the single "To Believe" featuring Moses Sumney, but people didn't realize that was like a track that was going to feature on an album in 2020. So they debuted it in 2016, didn't release it until 2020.
Debuted it live.
Yeah. So
I mean, you never know how it's going to go.
exactly. So yeah,
I mean, awesome. So what year did this come out? To Believe.
I think it's
2019?
2020.
2020.
Yeah.
So just last year.
Oh, 2019. Yeah, 2019. Sorry.
At the end of 2019, though, right?
Yeah. I think
so.
right at the very end. Yeah.
Which feels like it's 2021 right now when we're recording this, and it's about mid-April
Yeah.
or so when we're recording this. So that feels like it's about a year away.
So I think I saw them when they came out in 2019. In
Nice.
Seattle. Yeah.
That's epic. So one of the last concerts that they played,
Yeah.
essentially, I don't know what they've been up to, but essentially, relatively, one of the last things that they've toured. So, but To Believe, great. More long tracks
Yeah.
on this.
Yeah.
This is an artist where I like their latest stuff.
Yeah.
Feels more refined
Yeah.
to me. Feels like they're coming into themselves, like after learning a lot.
Well, it's definitely interesting when you explore groups like this, like Jazz Nova as well and stuff like that. Yeah. They've been around for, all of the 2000s kind of thing.
Right.
And now, we're in 2020. It's crazy that we're 2 decades
We're in the 20s.
into the 20s. But, so it's weird for me as well because a lot of these artists I listened to back in like early 2000s. And, and it's interesting to see where they're sonically going now kind of thing in this new era of, I don't know where we're at really right now in present time. It's an interesting time to be where everything, I don't know, I feel like every generation maybe feels like everything comes to a head at a certain point or there's a reckoning moment. But for me,
thing.
like there's a lot of artists from the 2000s. I mean, even like Raphael Sadiq was like, one of those artists. I mean, he was way back in the 90s as well, but like he's traversed all of this time period to be releasing stuff now in a modern way, and it's like interesting to see the evolution of sounds and where they're taking things and everything like that. And so with Cinematic Orchestra, they came from a very jazzy sort of background, and with this latest release, it's a little bit more refined in a bonobo way, I would say. This
Kind of
release.
that down-tempo electronic beat kind of vibe. A little bit.
Because he's another artist that's been around forever as well. But his most recent release is like super like modern and forward thinking kind of thing.
100%.
And so I feel like, Cinematic Orchestra have caught up to that bonobo stage of things. And
with this, it kind of shows that they've traversed that. They've explored this and that, and now they're here, and it feels like they've arrived.
Yeah,
that's how I feel, at least.
Yeah.
I don't mean to like steamroll what you were saying.
No, that was it. That was it. That's all I had to say. And I think we should play out. With the most recent release is 2019, but it also features Roots Manuva, who's someone that I kind of want to maybe talk about somehow on a future episode. I don't know if he has too many albums out, but he's an interesting character. He's done a lot of features on a lot of like cool shit over the last 20 years. And he reappears again now on this track called A Caged Bird / Imitations of Life, which we're about to play on Rooster Grooves. Are there any final parting words of wisdom you want to say on this episode?
I got just a couple brief notes about that last album, To Believe.
Yeah.
Just a couple brief notes. There's some long tracks, like I said. It's warm. It's emotional. There's a lot of variety. I like this record, and that's why I want to just put these couple words at the last moment here. But there's some energetic moments, but it's well paced and it's well produced and it's really good. Yeah. And it was super awesome getting to explore this group, this band, this entity.
Project.
Yeah, this project. I like thinking about it as a project, though. That's cool.
I think it's a project.
It's not so individualistic, like this person is famous because that person is awesome.
Yeah.
It's like it's bigger than one person, one human.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, it's like a project. Because I feel like that somewhere in the definition of project is you can't just do it by yourself. Like it takes outside things to truly make something bigger.
Yeah.
I always constantly think about skyscrapers.
You constantly think about skyscrapers? Almost
always. It impermeates so many of my metaphors in my head, at least when I'm trying to relate to other ideas.
Yeah.
You want to go to the top.
Yeah.
You want to have a window corner office of your business as a CEO, whatever. None of that's going to happen. You're not going to sit in that office until somebody digs a hole, makes the foundation, pours the concrete, then builds on top of that. I'm just saying, you start a foundation, that's what's going to allow you to go higher. If you're trying to build a sand castle, just a pile of dirt, even just a mountain, because it's what I used to do when I was in like first grade or whatever. I remember asking my dad, how can I make a bigger pile?
Yeah.
How can I make a bigger mountain? Bigger foundation.
Yeah.
And that seems so simple and trite, like over simplistic. But those things resonate with me.
Yeah.
Bigger foundation, the higher you can go.
Seriously, that's the way to leave the episode on the sentiment. Roots to Grooves at signalradio.com.
Jay Purcell.
Jesse Quigley.
That's Roots to Grooves. Thank you, everybody.
We'll see you next time.
Artiste of the realm, founder and fusionary. Foot map, linguistic scanter. Helpless in the entity. See the cage bird at the bosom of the angry shortfall. One finds a fistful. All engaging. All engaging. Perfection's in that non-perfection and I see queen, I see king, I see king, I see queen. Well, none of you know my kingdomanium. Last chance to retract it. Last chance to retract it. Why would you hide from yourself? Believe it's here to find you. Why would you hide from yourself? Well, I pick up my foot and do those things. Improve thyself, improve with things. I thank you for the healing in wings of meditation. Situation is strange to us. Stranger things are claiming us. I've been told breathe easily, as easy as that breathing be. Not so, never so, she's been told she done sold a part of her soul. returning now. There ain't no returning now. Why would you hide from yourself? Believe it's here to find you. Why would you hide from yourself? Believe it's here to find you. When I pick up my foot and do those things, improving things, I thank you for that healing in wings of meditation. Situation is strange to us. Stranger things are pulling us. I've been so free easily, as easy as that breathing be.
Roots to Grooves is a production of Signl Radio. For more music and independent culture, visit signalradio.com. That's signl radio.com.